Great. All right. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is safe and well, and I'm kind of excited about this opportunity. Maplebrook is, we have hosted through the school year many summit campers over the years. Our school has been in existence for 76 years. And we work with the same profile of student as Summit. So when we were approached to do this, we're pretty excited about that, about this opportunity, just because we're all about sharing. You know, we're all about sharing information. It has zero to do with my school, has nothing to do with Summit Camp. It is really just a passionate topic for me and what we do at our school, and hopefully you will find it informative. So I want to kind of keep this light. So if you have questions, feel free to unmute yourself, interrupt, that's fine. And I will, at the end of this, I will put my information in the chat box if you feel like you wanted to follow up after you digest. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And we're going to hopefully get started. Come on, not sharing with me. There we go. It took me a second. Excellent. Okay. So, oops, sorry about that. Can everybody see the screen? Thumbs up. Okay, cool. All right, so I have worked in the field of resilience for probably about 15 years or so. And what I've kind of gleaned from many years of experience is what I've put into this presentation today. It is not an end all be all, but it certainly is a beginning of a conversation. Again, feel free to jump in and ask questions as we go along. So I think when we're talking about resilience, we got to think about future, and I'm always thinking about future. Right now, it's easy to kind of think about right in the moment or what's going to happen over the summer, but our students spend the majority of their time in school, and teachers are a huge influence. I mean, you think about who was, you know, the teachers that influenced you. I have two that kind of influenced me to go into education. And, you know, a big part of our lives are spent in school. So this workshop is designed to help you as parents and anybody who is an educator, psychologist, whatever, look for gaps in resiliency, whether it's in your school setting, your home, camp, anything like that, and hopefully help you come up with a plan. I love to brainstorm, so I will be a resource for you, obviously, after this evening as well. So let's get a working definition. Resilience, the ability to adapt well to adversity, trauma, or stress. Challenging for everyone. I'm not going to harp on COVID too much, but the reality is that there has been an uptick in anxiety, depression. You know, it's harder for students who have learning issues to kind of process what's going on. However, we can teach resilience, and resilience can be learned. Is it going to happen overnight? No. It is really meant to be a repetitive process, but it's definitely something that can help. So I've done quite a bit of research, and it shows that students who develop more secure attachments, healthy emotional regulation, and good interpersonal skills tend to develop a stronger inclination to be resilient. Kind of think about yourself and your own resilience. So if you are, you've got a strong family, or you've got a really good support program or a support system with, you know, your friends or coworkers, you're kind of able to deal with adversity a little bit better. It's almost like, you know, you got your squad, and, you know, you're okay, and, you know, we can kind of face anything together. when you don't have that, it's a lot easier to kind of slip into the, oh, I don't know what to do, or I need help, or I can't manage to get out of this. So sometimes anxiety can turn to depression pretty quickly. But if you have a good group behind you, then that tends to work in your favor. Doesn't change for students either. I think one problem that we face is there's been a lot of time spent protecting our students' self-esteem rather than supportive failures. I'm a firm believer in supportive failures. Every one of us who can ride a bike has fallen off of it. Every one of us who has ever failed a test and had to retake it. Anyone who's ever gotten fired from a job. Okay, so no one's going to go to your children when they become young adults and say, you know, you didn't budget well. You don't have to pay your rent this month. Like, that's not going to happen. So I think we have an obligation to support our students when they fail, whether that is in school, whether it's with friends that maybe are ignoring them. And I want to make a good point here. Yes, bullying happens. I'm going to caution everybody on what they call bullying. But what hurts more for our students is being ignored. You know, most of our kids are very social. They want friends. They want to be accepted. And when they're not, it hurts even more. So that it's harder to bounce back. But if we can really protect them and teach them how to bounce back, then we're setting them up for success. So let's move on to structure or not. I would hope that everybody on this call can agree that our students respond better to structure. You know, even we do. Everybody has a routine. When you know what to expect, what's expected of you, you feel a little bit more successful. So that structure provides a security. I would assume everybody here has their own routine in the morning. I would also assume that none of us really respond well in a power outage until the generator kicks on, if you have one. So these structures that we have in our world help combat the chaos that can cause stress and anxiety. So structure also creates these rules and expectations that we all live by. Hard for a teenager to accept. Pretty sure it was difficult for all of us when we were teenagers to kind of accept this. A lot of kids say they want freedom, whatever that means in their world. But sometimes given too much independence without support, they're going to fail. Okay. I remember we had a student here at our school that was ready to leave and graduated, and his family was bringing him back into his home community, and he found an apartment. And instead of waiting to have somebody help him read and understand the lease, he just signed it because he loved the apartment, and the lease indicated that he owed 3 months rent before he could move in. So it's kind of important to teach that it's not it's not a step back when you have to ask for help and you need support in certain things. Structure in our lives is crucial. And I'm a strong believer in weaning them off of needing that structure. You know, I think we all kind of did that too. It does take a lot of responsibility on the part of the student. They got to be willing to do this. They got to be willing to learn from you, learn from mistakes, learn from their support system. If they kind of are still digging their heels in, then, you know, you're not going to get anywhere. Then students have learning challenges, sometimes become confused when a problem comes up and when they need to make a decision. You know, there's a lot of, I don't know. And a lot of times they do need specific instructions. I don't know about any of your children, but I know the students that I work with, multi-step directions don't really work too well. So, there's a way to structure things to build success. So moving on to enabling versus empowering, you've heard these terms before. Enabling does not allow the student to find a solution or problem or learn the process. Again, kind of going back to the whole riding the bike thing. Or even we've all run with the wrong crowd, and perhaps became friends with kids that really weren't the best choices. So, we kind of had to learn the hard way. So if we enable our students, then they don't have a chance to kind of make those decisions on their own. Making excuses. I refuse. Every student in my school understands I will not accept, oh, well, it's just my learning disability. Or, I do this because I have ADHD. I don't buy it. I call it popping the bubble wrap. The world is not going to be as nice as we are. The world is not going to be as nice as Summit Campus. It's really, really important that we, make sure, that excuses aren't happening. People aren't going to accept that at all. So I think it's really kind of important to, sorry, I'm a little distracted. Somebody's not muted.
Hey, yeah, Michelle, can you please mute your microphone? I tried to send you a chat, but you're not responding. Can you please mute yourself?
Sure, sorry.
No worries, thank you.
Thank you very much. Sorry about that. So, again, not blaming anybody. Look, the students have a learning challenge. That's who they are. It doesn't mean they have a third eye. It doesn't mean anything like that. It just means that they learn different. And they're going to get it. They just need to find a different avenue, but blaming others doesn't really fly too much. And then, not doing things for the students. Hard not to do, especially as a parent. Letting them make learn from their mistakes. I had a mom call me up about, probably about 3 or 4 years ago. And she said, you were right. Now, I don't hear that too often. So she said, you're right. And I said, what do you mean? She said, well, you always told us to let James do things. Well, he did the laundry without asking. And he didn't fold the towels any way that I would. He didn't put them away, but he did it. So, letting them do things, letting them make decisions, learn from their mistakes. She said it just about killed me to not fix it, but I knew I couldn't do that. So, it's really, really hard. And I appreciate that. As a parent, it's challenging. So, empowering, let's talk a little bit about that. Allow them to express their feelings without being judged as right or wrong. Our kids have enough negativity in their lives. So we try to let them make some choices, and explain, look, you're going to have to live with the consequences. So if, like, at our school, every student has a job to do, that's how they earn their allowance. Well, if they get their allowance and they blow it all in one day, there you go, you made a choice. And it's okay, you got to live with that choice. Not there to judge, but being able to tell them, let them express what's hard, or I think I know, they'll find out, just like we did. Being supportive, not nagging or excessively criticizing, really hard to do. But independent decision-making. It's that mom that said, go ahead and do the laundry. This is going to come in probably more when it comes to planning the next step and the career choices. I bet you if I asked every single person on here, I would have at least 2 or 3 that said that your child wants to develop video games for a career. I hear it all the time. I hear it almost every day. Well, you've made a decision. So let's start to research what that job looks like. And so instead of saying, oh, you're never going to make it, make any money doing video games. Let's take a look and see what sort of, schooling you need for that. How many hours do you have to work? What does that entail? So once if you have someone, or you can kind of dig into all of that, sometimes it leads to a discussion about, well, maybe this is something that is a hobby, not necessarily a career path. I get the same thing, like, oh yeah, I want to play in the NBA. Okay. So we look at other ways that you can still be in the athletic field, but maybe you join a YMCA in a basketball league and you can kind of still get that piece of it. You're not saying no, you're kind of leading them to see what's a little bit more realistic. Letting, own their own successes and failures. So not just, what, I got to live with that failure, but let's celebrate the successes, no matter how small. Letting them do things for themselves. That is really hard to do. But it's something that is going to make them feel good. It's a self-esteem booster. And then allowing them to make choices and respecting their decisions, no matter how hard it is for you not to correct them. So, all right, so let's turn it on yourselves. Think about a situation when you were faced where you had to be resilient. We've all had them. What helped you bounce back, overcome that adversity, move on from the problem? And these are the factors that, I think that, we'll go a little bit more in depth with, but, your emotional state, your attitude, we've all gotten in our own heads, and our students do the same thing. We've all overthought things, and human nature is filling in the blanks when you don't have all the facts. Well, that's going to alter your emotional state. And you don't always look at things clearly. Your own kind of self-awareness. What do you need? What's important to you? What kind of relationships? Do you have that squad behind you, or they were the ones that kind of helped you overcome whatever that problem was? And then, your social awareness. Are you, was it you? Was it your problem? Did you cause the problem? Or was it other environmental factors? So let's talk a little bit more in depth about these, what I think, again, my opinion, my years of experience, the keys, I think, to building resilience. So accountability. And we're going to go into each one of these. Pro-social behaviors, your relationships, self and social awareness, and then emotional skill building and the social skills piece of it. So accountability. You got to have a certain attitude on the part of whether it's the teacher, the parent, the camp counselor, whatever it is. There's got to be accountability and willingness to say, you know what, you got to own this. It might hurt. It might be hard to deal with, but you got to own it. And this is how you do it. And I'm here to support you. The responsibility for making choices about their behavior lies with the student. We have a really great program at our school that was developed, back in the 90s. And it's all about the students making choices for their behavior. We're not nagging them. We're not telling them they're wrong. It's just, you have to make a choice. You can't blame anybody. If you make a choice, it's something that it's something you have to own. When you're holding a student accountable, it's hard not to kind of feel guilty, especially when it's kind of a negative sort of thing, but you're doing what's best for them. The more they can build this accountability, the less it'll be, if they, God forbid, get fired from a job. It's not the boss's fault. There's something else there. And, letting them fail. Supportive failures are invaluable. You think about what things you failed at that you learned from and became better at. Now, our students aren't going to do that on their own. This is where we have to facilitate what's their role in it. You know what? I failed that test because I played video games instead of studying for them, or I didn't ask the teacher for help. I always like to tell the story about my days when I was teaching at Marist College, and I had a student in my class. Now, I always started my class with very sensitive to learning disabilities. Please let me know if you need help, you have a diagnosed disability, whatever it is. And I had an autistic student in my class. I could tell, but he never revealed. And I found out about this when I got a nasty email from his mother because he did the assignment completely wrong. I gave him credit for actually doing, it was a term paper, so I gave him some credit for the effort. But there was no way in the world she was letting him be accountable. You know, he didn't come for help. He didn't ask. I know he didn't go to the writing center. He didn't go to the accommodative services office. So, you know, it's a little hard for me to bend over backwards to help you if you're not going to help yourself. And now that was a college situation. With our students, I'm a little bit more gentle when I'm talking about their role in it. You can't blame anybody but yourself. So, and it's okay to learn from that and move on. So the prosocial behaviors and the character piece, number one, can't emphasize it enough. If you take nothing away today, tonight, do this with your children. Make sure that they understand and accept their learning challenges. Don't ask them they're going to give you the canned answer that every psychologist has ever said to them. When I'm interviewing a student to come to my school, I always ask the same question. What's hard about learning for you? Change the words up a little bit rather than what's your learning disability? Then you're going to get all the terms that they don't have any idea what they mean. But what's hard about learning for you? What's hard about, you know, putting the dishes away? What's hard about following a schedule? Try to, you know, get them to manage themselves, but understand a little bit more about what's hard. Then you can start working on, you know, making accommodations. Problem solving, so important because problems never go away. We always have them. But you're not the problem solver. What's going to happen when you're not around? Someone, you know, I try to tell our families also, it's so hard not to answer that text message. You know, you see it flash up there and you know that your son or daughter is in their minds in crisis mode. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But I always tell my families a good rule of thumb is give yourself at least 5, if not 10 minutes before you're going to answer that text. Because you're emotional. You know, they're emotional, they got a problem, they need help, they're your child. That's going to ramp up your emotions. And then what's going to happen? You're going to call the summit camp people. You're going to call me. And sometimes if you just don't jump, everything, you know, you can kind of manage your emotions a little bit. I always tell people it's kind of like when you have a dog on a leash. And if you're nervous, they can feel it through the leash and nobody, you know, tends to relax. Same thing happens with problem solving. You want to help your child. But if you can kind of keep yourself under control a little bit more, when they're upset, you'll be able to guide them a little bit better. Goal setting, being realistic with those goals. You know, no, they're probably not going to play in the NBA, but, you know, let's set a smaller goal. Go join a basketball team in a Y or a YMCA or a local gym or something like that. Not easy to do. Making decisions. The more we can let our kids make their own decisions, whether you agree with them or not, believe it or not, the more you're going to be able to educate them on making smarter decisions. I think they have to make some goofy ones first before you can make progress in that area. Just like we did when we were younger, our kids are no different. Communication skills. It's not just talking. It's so hard for our kids to listen. And an anagram of listen is silent. If you just switch the letters around, listen is silent. So if you're silent and really paying attention and hearing instead of listening so that you can say the next thing, it is a skill that needs massaging, and it needs a lot of repetition. And then managing those relationships. When it comes to resiliency, and our students tend to be all or nothing people, if they're in an argument with someone, it's over. We're not friends anymore. There's a lot of those extremes, and that's going to just kind of ramp up their anxiety, not be able to get over whatever the problem might be. Or that friend that isn't talking to them for whatever reason. It might not be them, but even we get into that. What did I do to them? They're not talking to me. So a lot of times we need to kind of give our students the tools that maybe it isn't you. And the other part of managing relationships is, I find our students have a tendency to want to fix everything right away because they don't like the discomfort of somebody that might be upset with them. Well, we need to help them and saying, you got to give a little bit of space. Not easy to do, but I think with repetition, and if you have a good team, whether it's camp, school, a mentor, a therapist, a counselor, maybe it's another person in the family, maybe it's a sibling, get your team together. And if you're all on the same page, the message is going to get through. So how relationships influence our students. Again, we talked about the learning difficulties. Support them, don't advocate for them. They all know how to advocate. Watch them with their friends. Watch them when they want something. They absolutely all know how to advocate for themselves. It's just a matter of doing it properly. How we act and the decisions we make are determined by what we believe, positive or negative. That's for everybody. That's kind of human nature. You're going to make decisions based on what you believe. So the stronger your moral compass, you're going to do things that, are guided by that. So are our kids. My dad always said, you are who you hang around with. Encourage healthy relationships. You may not always like their friends, but try to understand why they gravitated to certain people. If you feel that your kids are around students who or other kids who might not be a good influence, try to find out what attracted them, because I'll bet you anything, dollars to donuts, it's somebody that is kind of an outsider and is accepting as well. And this is also a really good way where you can tell if your kids are being taken advantage of, because our students aren't quick like that. And most of them don't have that gut feeling like you and I do. So if they're being taken advantage of, they may not know it. I always used to, when we talk about money management here at our school, I talk about things like, the student that has difficulty counting change or is a little bit embarrassed by that is always the one that says, oh yeah, I'll pay for it. Well, it's not going to take long for kids to say, oh yeah, you know what? Mike's got it. He's going to pay for it, because he always does, rather than counting change and rather than not being able to do the math, to break up what a bill in a restaurant might be. So, you can have some conversations without judging. Just say, you know what? Tell me what you like about Joey. You're hanging around with him a lot. What's so great about him? Now, they might not want to tell you, but maybe this is where you can get some of the rest of your team in there. Again, whether it might be a sibling or a friend of the family or something that might be able to get through. Encouragement, hope, and the ability to correct mistakes independently. That is all going to help your relationship with your child. Giving them a little bit of hope. They've had a lot of negative in their lives. And be strong role models and find those other role models too. You don't have to take this burden on yourself. Find out from your kids, who is their favorite teacher and why? Who's their favorite counselor and why? Is there a friend in the family? Is there an uncle? Is there somebody that they admire and look up to? and ask them what it is about them, because you're going to learn a lot about who they're going to follow, and that can help you kind of shape their resilience. You can always get to that person and say, hey, you know what? Have a conversation about how you've bounced back on certain things. Or every kid likes to hear the story about, and every one of you has a story about something that you had, a rough time. Just had this conversation with, I teach a diversity, equity, and inclusion class at my school, and it's called respecting our differences. And I just got we just got talking about, or we did an exercise called the human library. And what it is I broke up everybody into groups, and I actually put them with students they wouldn't hang around with, that aren't in their kind of normal social group. And I gave them topics, and they had to get to know each other. And the topics were things like anxiety. So they had to talk about what makes you anxious and why. There were topics like ADHD. How does it feel to not be able to sit still and pay attention? So it was very, very enlightening to listen to the students be amazed at and how much they liked learning about somebody they would have never struck a conversation up with. And so I think you can do something like that with your own contacts as well. It doesn't have to be in a school situation, but the more people that can share their stories of, when they had to skin their knees, kids will be like, oh, all right, well, maybe I'm not alone. So self and social awareness, we may not be able to control a situation, but we can control how we view it. I am not a glass half full sort of person. I'm a natural pessimist. But I think I've trained myself not to get in my own head. Harder for our students to do. So I think we need to help them understand that, what, some things you just can't change. Helping your student filter out what they're seeing on social media. Can't emphasize this enough. And this is the way of the world. Social media isn't going away. The internet is not going away. It's not a fad. But boy, it takes nothing to be influenced. They're not going to become TikTok stars. And I think helping them understand what is good and what isn't good is probably one of the biggest favors you can do for them. There's so much out there that is such a horrible influence. Courage, help them understand that not everything is going to work out. This is part of the executive functioning piece that we try to focus on at our school. Plan B. You always have to have a plan B. And what you have in your head, a lot of times doesn't work out that way. But you can't fall to pieces. And rejection and failure are ways to learn how to do something different. Perspective, being able to view things from another point of view, really hard for our students to do. They're generally pretty focused on themselves a lot of times, but doesn't mean that they're not empathetic or helpful, but I think a majority of the time it's how's this going to benefit me, or it's in the moment. I want what I want when I want it right now. But being able to kind of view things from how other people feel, how do your decisions influence others? Encouragement, of course. We talked about that already, and building a sense of purpose, letting your kids know that they are important. They're important in this world. They're needed in this world. And this is how you can contribute. Everybody needs to know that they're wanted, and it's important. So some of the emotional skills I think are critical, managing their emotions when faced with change, unexpected or disappointment, really hard. But the more they can do that, the less they're going to be stung when those things happen, and the more resilient they're going to be able to be. Flexibility, really hard, especially for spectrum kids. And you can do it in small chunks. Okay, so flexibility could be something as simple as, helping them understand that it's all right not to wear the red shirt on Tuesdays. Let's try something different. And if it's uncomfortable, okay, we'll go back to the other. But it's that opportunity to try something. Being able to cope. What is a big deal and what's a little deal? That's, again, a great teaching moment. Persistence, asking for that help, not being ashamed. Planning A, B, C, D. That's what that kind of means. Always having, that backup is all as a way to help them build that resilience. We talked about the self-management and owning up to their mistakes, motivation and advocacy. When they're out from underneath your roof, I'm sure Thea can probably say this when they're at camp. Nobody's going to do it for them. I can guarantee you there are no mints on the pillows in the bunks at Summit Camp. Accepting no. Sometimes the answer is no. Does it stink? Yep. But sometimes the answer is no. And we got to live with that. So I see you nodding your head, Thea, so that must be true. Okay. So what can we do to help? We've been talking a lot about this so far, but teaching them how to meet expectations builds a lot of character. Think about your own character and how you built things. And they will become compassionate, respectful, responsible adults. And that's what we can hope for. Motivation, what motivates them? And you know what? It might be something that you would never agree with right now, but it's okay to kind of ride that wave for a little bit. Gives you an opportunity to teach what else is out there. Advocating for themselves. When it's time for a doctor's appointment, you all go to the doctor, you all go to the dentist. Have them walk up and say their name and they're here and checking in. Any of you who have started or haven't started the SSI process for your kids, please do it. Have them go into your local office and ask for the paperwork. It's probably going to shake them to their core, but it's going to have to happen when you're not there. And so if you can start these things now, then you're really helping them in the future. And that goes along with that independence and building a routine. The partnership is so important. Letting everybody know you're all letting your kids know you're on the same page. We already talked about this. Have a sense of humor. Mistakes are going to happen. Someday you're going to laugh about them. Probably not at the moment, but humor is really going to save you sometimes, and help you bounce back. And these life skills, making choices with both their online and their offline lives. Let them have a seat at the table. It's okay to say, all right, you know what? We're going to put together a schedule of when you can be on social media, or you can be on the internet, or you can play video games, whatever it is. I want you to be a part of that. So what do you think is reasonable? 23 hours a day. Okay. Can we compromise a little bit? Maybe you turn your electronics in at 10 o'clock. Whatever that is, letting them have a little bit of a choice and buy-in, make your life a lot easier. So some themes here: preparation and being proactive. Don't wait until it's a crisis situation with your kids. Start these teaching things now. Help them build resilience now. That's going to cultivate their self-esteem. It's going to build their advocacy. Make them go in and talk to their teacher when there's a problem. Don't wait for you to bail them out. Embrace social media as social. It's here to stay. Collaborate with those in your kids' lives and with your child. Let them be a part of things and be involved. Don't be a hands-off parent. Don't let the teachers do it. Don't let the camp counselors do it. Work together. Some do's and don'ts, in my opinion. Do be available with advice when requested. And that's the key phrase, when requested. I haven't met a teenager yet that doesn't know everything. It's a wonder that any of us could get out of bed this morning, that we just have no brains in our head. When requested, they'll come, and I think you can kind of use it as a conversation piece. Don't rush in and fix whatever the problem is. Take that buffer. Make sure you get your emotions under control. The tendency is to jump in and save your kids. Well, it might make it worse. I just had this situation and an alum who I was her advisor while she was at school. And, she was saying, well, somebody at school is starting a rumor and, I haven't been there. And she was very, very upset. And so I just turned it back on her and said, well, what do you think we ought to do about this? Did I want to go and talk to the student who was causing the drama? Yep, absolutely. But that teaching always happens all the time. She said, look, you know what? I'm going to talk to her and I'll let you know if I need your help. But I had to get my emotions under control first. Pick your battles. Not everything is worth the fight. Pick the big stuff. And nagging and punishment and threats never worked with you. It's not going to work with your kids. And be willing to share your stories or have someone in your team share, whomever you bring into the fold to work with your kids, share their stories. We all have stories. And I think the more your kids can say, oh, you know what? You went through that too. You had a broken heart. Wow, how'd you get through it? Or if you can get through it, so can I. Don't ever compare how you handled it. Things are way different than when you were their age. It's a whole different world and I would never want to go back to it. So I grew up without social media and quite happy with that. Help them build self-help skills and being comfortable with what they're able to do. And don't close the door. Yeah, there's a tendency, like I always tell this story and it's a true story. My dad's not here to verify it, but I remember when I was 16 years old and I borrowed his car, which was kind of a jalopy. And I just went probably about 10 miles up the road and the car wouldn't start. Of course, I'm hysterical. I'm all in my head and I'm like, oh my God, he's going to kill me. Oh my God, what am I going to do here? So I called my dad and I'm like, Dad, the car won't start. And I'm like, doing that crying breathing that we've all done at one point. And he's like, all right, calm down. And now PS, my dad was a Marine. I'm the last of 5 kids. Not a lot of, touchy feely fuzzy by the time I got to that age. So he goes, all right. And this was payphones, by the way. So I had to kind of run. He goes, go back to the car, go in the glove compartment, get the book that's in there that goes with the car. So I did. And I go, okay. And he goes, well, what's happening? And I kind of explained to him that, there was that feeling. And he goes, okay. So you go back into the index and you look under engine and starter. And he goes, and then read it, click. And I'm like freaking out, hysterical. About 15 minutes later, my dad pulls in to the parking lot where I am. But later on, I got the message that they're not always going to be there to bail me out. So I better learn pretty quick how to stay calm, ask for help. When times get tough, my parents were there, but they kind of struck a really cool balance and letting me and my sisters and my brother make mistakes. So just a final word, geese fly in formation because each goose is pulled along by the energetic warp left by the next bird in line. So your success breeds success. So fly in formation because you will be absolutely supporting your kids. So I'm going to actually stop sharing and kind of open it up for questions. And sorry, I was talking at you for so long, but dive in.
Is it possible to get these slides sent to the participants?
Absolutely. I will. Thea, I can send you the PowerPoint. It's not a problem.
Sure, but also, Mr. Trencher, hi, nice to see you. Hope Josh is doing okay. Also, we recorded it and it's going to be on our YouTube, so I'm going to send you the link. So that's also easy because it records the slides as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to use the slides kind of old school, print them out.
Sure. We can send those to you.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll email them right after this over to you, Thea. No problem.
That'd be great.
And my email's on there as well. And, truly don't hesitate. You might be, in a particular situation. Again, I'm not a super expert. I have almost 29 years at my school of doing this. It's just a lot of things I've picked up over the years.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'll jump in with a question, Jen. Hi, my name is Jamie, by the way.
Hi.
I think my thing says phone, but I had a question about your comment. You said, pick your battles, and then you said something else that was related to, you don't have to wear the red shirt on Tuesday, which struck me because my daughter, she's not only have to wear the same shirt, she's got to wear the same underwear, the same jeans, everything. And so how would you kind of correlate that with pick your battles, right? Because for me, that's not a battle I'm picking, but I mean, from your slides and from your talk, I feel like that's a point of resilience that I might want to tackle. So I guess where's the line there?
Couple questions. How old is your daughter?
She's 12.
Okay. And how does she respond to some choice? Like it might be, it's a comfort thing for obvious reasons, right?
Yeah.
But what if, and again, knee-jerk reaction, have her pick out your outfit. And just say, hey, look, you know what? I'm needing a little bit of help with making some choices. And I know, maybe you can help me out. And again, do it on like a Saturday when you don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Or whatever the pajama day is. But, I think the more that you can get those choices, even if it's something as simple as, can you help me plan what's going to be for dinner on Sunday? I think the more that you can do other choices, you can then start to infiltrate into her personal choices. I think if you try to do it right now, it sounds to me like she'd probably give you a fight. But do you ever take her grocery shopping with you, or is that like, no way?
Oh yeah, I've definitely done the whole, they're not interested. I feel like I've tried to do that. She's definitely picked her favorite chicken Alfredo that she would help pick out the recipes and then cook. I just feel like she'll lose interest in it so quick. It's like, it's a big deal the first time, right? But then after that, it's like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure. This is a generation that came out of the womb clicking and swiping. So, they truly, and that's why I think that if there can be, anything, I'm going to pick one movie to watch, you pick the next one. I think that as much as we can teach them that there are choices all the time and everything isn't going to be fun. I don't have a magic pill for that, but it's just going to take a lot of repetition and a lot of, what, I need you to help me make some choices. Can't do this by myself. We're together as a team. And sometimes things are boring. My God, you probably do that on your job.
Yeah.
I know I do. I love my job, but.
Yeah, definitely. Great. Thanks for your insight.
I wish you luck in getting away from the red shirt.
Yeah, it's not red, it's just black everything, but yeah.
Look, I got a friend like that. She buys all black clothes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
now let me ask you a question though. It's like a black shirt, black t-shirt?
Yeah.
Can you get fabric paints? Let her decorate a black shirt so it can look a little different.
Yeah. I don't know if she'll actually
Camp
do it,
activity.
Yeah, she actually does wear her tie-dye shirts that she gets at camp every year. She does love those. So,
Well, ask her why. They're
Yeah.
not black. What do you
Yep,
like
yep.
those for? You know,
Yeah.
maybe, I don't know. I mean, I think you hit or miss a little bit, but get her to start talking a little bit about why she's making those choices. You'd be surprised at how insightful it can be sometimes.
Yeah. Well, that's great advice. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Hi, I have a question. Hi.
Hi.
So my son is 12 and I find it very difficult to communicate with him because he doesn't accept what I say a lot of times. So, for example, this just came up before. We've had the basketball hoop in the driveway for a long time. And I've asked him numerous times, don't play when the car is there. I just got a new car. I don't want to mess up the car. And time after time, he will defy me and he will play the basketball, in a way where it doesn't hit the car, but it ends up hitting the car. Anyway, I was at my wits' and we moved it to the side of the house. And now he's upset and he's whining and he's kind of on the verge of a tantrum. Why can't we move it back? And I said, I've told you numerous times, don't play by when the car is there. And so now you can play whenever you want because it's not on the driveway anymore. So, but he can't accept it. But why? But why? But why? So this is just one example, but there are a lot of other examples or situations where, I've explained it to him before, but when, I've given him numerous warnings, but when it actually happens, it's like, but why? But why? So do you have any tips?
Who else is in your circle of dealing with him? Who
Yes.
in your world might he listen to?
So my partner is a bit more stern and strict. So coming from him, it may be a little bit better, but, and he's actually the one that moved it, but he's not home, then he comes to me constantly. But why? Can we move it back today? Can we move it back today? No, we cannot. So
Do you give him an allowance?
no.
Hmm.
He gets my parents give him money whenever he gets a hit in like baseball. So I don't have really like an allowance that I give him every week because he doesn't really need to buy anything.
Well, you might want to.
Oh, you broke up there. Hello. Oh, no. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. I think she's frozen for a second for some reason. Uh-oh, let's give it a second. Maybe she'll come back.
Okay.
It looks like she's giving great advice though.
I know.
We're just missing it.
Don't leave me hanging.
She was right on the cusp of telling us a secret to how to stop
Yes.
meltdowns.
Secret to allowances.
Sounds
Oh no.
like I'm not the only one here, so I'm glad other parents can relate.
Uh-oh. Did she?
Oh, she left, so I guess she'll be back.
Oh, yeah, maybe she'll log back in a second. Oh. I found it to be a really good presentation and I did not know that stuff about the geese. I thought that was funny. I like that. I like that synonym. Yeah, hopefully she'll pop right back in just a second. Sorry
Okay.
about the technical difficulty, guys, but thanks for being here. We hope that you guys found this helpful and
Absolutely.
yeah, we
Yep.
have these every month. Last month we had James Trailer on and he is a kind of like a broker for special needs. His sister actually went to our camp a while back and he talked about, how important SSI is, the ins and outs of it, ABLE accounts, all that stuff. So that's recorded on our YouTube if you guys want to go watch that. And
I am so sorry. My power just went out.
there she is.
Oh.
Hi.
I'm so sorry. My
okay.
power just went out of nowhere. I'm trying to get my Wi-Fi back, so I'm on my phone.
Oh.
No
Well, no worries. We're glad you're back. You left us on the cusp of a secret.
Uh-oh.
Miss Scully, are you there? Uh-oh, guys. Power going out is not the ideal thing to happen.
Mm.
Oh, maybe she's popping back on. There she
Oh,
is.
there you go.
I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on. Out of nowhere, the power went out. I'm trying to get on my phone and then our alarm system keeps calling me because I was ahead of school. I'm the first one. So my apologies.
No
No
worries. Thanks for quickly popping back on in the midst of all of your stuff. So you were on the cusp of telling us about the allowance thing? Oh no, did she disappear again? Uh-oh. Miss Scully? She must not have good service on her phone.
We're going to try this again.
There you
Okay.
are.
So sorry. Okay, so we're going to try this again. I am so sorry for all this. Talk about being resilient, right? But so anyways, I don't know if anybody has any questions. I'm so sorry about the moving of the basketball hoop. And that's kind of where we were when the power went out. But I think my initial thought is if he's getting, money or something for, baskets that he's making, perhaps he's got to put some of that aside in case there's damage to the car. So if it's one of these deals, you want to know why there's damage to the car, you're going to have to pay for it. So do you really want to use your money? We're trying to avoid a big problem. I don't know where he is in the concept of money at this point, but that's why I asked about an allowance.
Yeah, he doesn't really put much weight. I mean, he has, and it's like thrown everywhere in the house. So it's not like he has an attachment to it. He knows he wants it when he needs it.
Yeah.
But I mean, he does have money just laying around. And honestly, if I took it, he wouldn't miss it until he's looking to buy something.
Of course, unless yeah. And he's only 12. Otherwise, if he was like 16, I give him a bill. So, but so, I don't know. I kind of wish, it sounds like you have a good support behind you. And look, 12 is a hard year. I wouldn't wish 12 years old on anybody. It's a horrible time to be alive. You're just trying to find your way.
Yeah, hard. Sometimes I find myself avoiding conversations and just deflecting, just to get out of the conversation, because I know the more we get into it, and he's pretty relentless, and it'll end up only in a tantrum or a meltdown, when you can't get out of that mindset. And it's just like, why me? I'm the victim. Why do you do this to me? You ruined my life, kind of like that.
Absolutely. Like, Armageddon's coming all over a basketball hoop. Yeah.
Yeah.
And not for nothing, I don't know about you guys, but I did that to my family too. I was a horrible 12-year-old. So, but
I like I was a really a well-behaved 12-year-old and 13-year-old, 14. So I'm like, why me? Why is this karma on me?
see that you're saying it to yourself now, aren't you? So Thea, I don't know what your time frame is, but I think I want to offer, and God knows what's going to happen here if the power goes out again, but I do want to offer to everyone, I will send you my slide deck. Feel free to share it with the folks that were here. And on that slide deck is my email. Please, no one hesitate. If something comes up, or you want to try to schedule something, or you've got a call, I would be absolutely happy to answer your questions.
Yeah, I also put your email and my email, as well as the Summit Series
Okay.
Present YouTube link in the chat box. So if everybody wants to save that really quick before we get off, you can have that, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can always see the presentations. I usually upload them within a day or two. And yeah, I think it's great. You can listen to them like a podcast in your car. You know, if you ever miss one or you want to re-listen to one, I think they're great. But I think that this was really, really wonderful. And we thank you so much, Miss Scully,
Well,
for
thank
for
you.
joining us.
I appreciate the opportunity, and yeah, listen to this in the podcast in your car to get away from the basketball hoop.
That's
So,
hilarious.
All right, thank you, everyone. It was great to see you. I really appreciate your time tonight. Thea, thank you as always. And I will get this out. I'll send that out to you right away.
Great. Good luck with your power. Bye, everyone. Thanks for
All right.
coming. Always
Thank you.
never hesitate to reach out. Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you.